Good morning, everybody. This is Katya Homm, and today I am here with Orlando Santamaria in his company, which is called Lex 360. Thank you, Orlando, for having me here. Orlando is a lawyer who's been doing this, who's been closing deals for, 25 years?
Not that much, I wish. No, it's now it's been 5 years. I started studying law like 27 years ago, but no, I started doing real estate 5 years.
Okay, Orlando, thank you very much for coming here today. Today we are going to talk about the closing cost. There were some dramatic changes in price this January that we all got a heart attack, and we don't have too much understanding about what's going on. So Orlando, I would like to ask you first. First of all, tell us something about your company.
I created a company back 5 years ago, and I started with a business partner. Now I'm solo, and I created a company because I said, I want to be able to do what I love, which was being a lawyer, but I didn't want to be I didn't like criminal law, I didn't like all those kind of laws. So I said, I write real estate law because I like, I'm a very person who likes to read. I love to read. So that's one of the main things you need to do when you are a closing coordinator. You actually need to read because that's our job. We need to make sure that your client is protected, that that everybody in the transaction is protected. So that's why I deciding I start by myself. Now it's 10 people, so it means we're doing good.
You're gonna change the office very soon, right?
We are moving very soon because we don't fit in here. It's a very small space, and we're gonna have a brand new offices that when they're ready, we're gonna invite you so you can come over and see them.
Can't wait. Thank you, Orlando. So we heard that. What I keep telling to my clients, to my buyers, is that the closing cost is in between 5.5, 6% of the purchase price. First of all, what does this include? Just let's go through the main points, and then I would like to talk about what was this radical change like from January. It was like a shock to everybody that it almost doubled here in Jalisco, here in Puerto Vallarta.
The closing cost, we can go first to the closing cost. The closing cost, it's usually a set of items that they are administrative items that the notary needs to get in order to keep the transaction going. It depends on the transaction. Sometimes it's a new trust, which in this case they need to get a permit from Foreign Affairs. They need to get several documents. And in some cases, it's just when the trust is created, it's an assignment of rights. In that case, you don't need the trust permit because there is a trust already created on the property. The other items that you need, in this case for a trust, are like a lot of times the notaries charge you additional pages. The additional pages charge is the one because of the deeds use a special paper given by the government, and they are charged. So they charge you because the trust usually a regular transaction, I couldn't call it regular, a transaction between Mexicans, which is not a trust, is usually have 5 of those pages. Okay. A trust usually has like 60 pages, so you can see why they charge you those additional pages. Then other items they charge you is the certificate or no lien certificate that they need to get, the non-debt on property taxes certificate, the bank fees, of course, and then there is the taxes they need to pay to the public registry, to the cadastral office, which is the transfer tax, which is the one we're going to talk next because it's very controversial and sensitive this 2022. And then there is the notary fees, okay? The notary fees, and all of those include the VAT tax, and that's basically what a closing cost, roughly, or closing cost estimate is composed of those items, okay?
Okay.
And then sometimes if there is like a POA or something, sometimes they charge you to there or they charge it apart. That it depends on the notary, and that's something you can always discuss with the particular situation. The transfer tax. At this point, I'm laughing because it's kind of embarrassing. At this point, our authorities don't know how they're gonna do it, how they're gonna charge you. So this is what happened. On December 28th of 2021, a new law, which is called the income tax law for Jalisco and Puerto Vallarta as a municipality, changed. They published that law, and then that law came into effect on January 1st, 2022. So as you can see, they published the law on December 28 when everybody was partying, and then on January 20.
That's why they were probably hiding it.
And nobody, So on January 1st, it's like, guess what? Now your transfer tax has changed. What changed? In the previous income tax law, it said that the transfer tax was going to be calculated in Jalisco using as a base the appraisal value. The appraisal value is nothing else than the legal value of the property. Okay? So every time you have a transaction, you need to get an appraisal by an approved appraiser by the state. So that appraiser will go to the property, or based on pictures and the indexes they have at the cadastral municipality, give the legal value of the property, which is the appraisal, avalúo, and that one is the one that is going to be used for your taxes next year, for the following year. However, that was in the past. The notary have to put that base, that value of that appraisal, the legal value, which was very different from the purchase price. The purchase price is always, not always, 99% of the time, way higher than the appraisal. So you put the appraisal value in that index, and then there is a calculation that is kind of, it would be just too long to explain, but basically they put that value there, and it gives you a number that it needs to be paid.
Let's put numbers so it's easier to understand. So let's say like for example, something that has a 1 million pesos legal value. In the past, that property, the legal value was 1 million pesos, but the purchase price was probably 5 million pesos. We'll say something. So when we calculate the transfer tax, we put that 1 million pesos in the transfer tax calculator, and it gives us a price. Let's say 1 million pesos probably is around 74,000 pesos. 74,000 pesos, that was the transfer tax, which is normally the most expensive item in your closing cost. Taxes, as we all know. But now, because of this law, instead of putting the 1 million pesos in that calculator, now you have to put the 5 million pesos, because the law now says that in every transaction, you have to use the highest value between the appraisal and the purchase price. So, which most of the time now will be the purchase price. So in that same example, the client that was, his legal value was 1 million, now the transfer tax the base for his calculation will be 5 million. So that transfer tax will go from 74,000 pesos to 200,000 pesos. This is crazy.
Or 220,000 pesos, so that's like sometimes double or triple the time, and so everybody was freaked out.
This is Jalisco. It's Puerto Vallarta.
This is Puerto Vallarta. This is Jalisco.
So I'm sorry. What about in Nuevo Vallarta?
Nuevo Vallarta is Nayarit. Nuevo Vallarta, Nayarit. They have their law, their income tax law. It says it's 2% of the highest price between the appraisal and the purchase price. So in Nayarit, they always charge you as the transfer tax the 2%. So 2% of your purchase price is usually what you expect to pay and what you should pay. Only 2%, plus all the notary fees and all the other expenses. So you will be safe to say that in Nayarit, sometimes it's between 5 and 6% because you already, you have 2% already, and then the other one is like the other expenses.
If I'm buying a property in Puerto Vallarta, can I do the closing in Nayarit because that's going to give me a nicer price?
No, because the closing costs follow where the property is located. So what the transfer tax is, it's applied to where the property is located. So if your property is located in Jalisco, it doesn't really matter. Well, it doesn't matter where you close, because they're gonna charge you the transfer tax according to where the property is located, because that's where they're gonna pay the transfer tax to that municipality. So they need to apply it there. That being said, this is
what's now?
This is the embarrassing part. So our legislator changed that on they published that law on December 28th of 2021, and the law came into effect January 1st, 2022. But, and it's a big but, they didn't do it right. How they didn't do it right? So our income tax law says that according to the Treasury law, the transfer tax will be calculated according to the Treasury law, which is a higher law than the income tax law. So in the Treasury law, it still says, until today, that the transfer tax will be calculated using the highest value between the purchase price and the appraisal value. And then right below that has a small paragraph that it says, in every transaction where the property is destined or is going to be used for residential purposes, the appraisal value shall always be used to as a base to calculate this tax. Okay. So if you see the income tax law, it says this tax should be calculated according to the Treasury law. So they just copy paste whatever that says on that article in the Treasury law and put it here and just erase that last paragraph on the income tax law. But they didn't erase that one on the Treasury tax law.
These are things that only happen in Mexico. That's why we love it.
So because of, I mean, I don't know how they did it really, because it's like, well, if you're going to change this law, you need to change the higher law.
Yeah.
You need to, like if you're going to change something in a law, you need to change the Constitution first in order to change all the lesser laws. Otherwise, according to our law system, it's against the law. Mm-hmm. So we have in a case now that we are in a case that it's kind of against the law. So because the municipality now have a fireball in their hands, because they, at this point, some notaries already told us they're gonna be using we're gonna use the appraisal value to do this to calculate the taxes for customers, right? But then some others told us just wait until the authorities have a written, like a written confirmation how this is going to do, how this is going to,
So if I understand it well, then there is hope that this was just a mistake.
This is just a mistake. At least for this year, there is still hope that we're going to be still using the appraisal value. We're just waiting. I mean, we're all like crossing our fingers and waiting for that's going to happen. But we still, at this moment, that's what is embarrassing. We still don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as I asked you, so what do I do with my closing on Monday?
I will just do my closing coordinator. Can we just use the appraisal value, and if the authorities will charge me the tax based on the purchase price, then I pay the difference. That's what I would do. But yeah, right now, until further notice, we are telling
coming back.
We are telling people that we have to charge them. We send them an explanation with all that explanation I just gave you. We create a document where we send to clients explaining that difference and explaining that when the notary pays the transfer tax, if they pay using the appraisal value and the authorities do not ask them to pay the higher tax, I mean, using the purchase price, they're gonna get their money back.
Okay,
or to some clients,
So all these closings that happen until now, they pay with
the purchase price. Yeah, but in Jalisco, but we explain them what's going on. We explain the agent, we explain the client, and we give the explanation to the client. As soon as the notary pays the taxes and give us the receipt, we're gonna send the client with they said this is it, and this is what the notary has to refund you, or whoever holding the money needs to refund you for that, because
this is for sure that they're gonna give the money back.
Oh, they have to. If they don't pay it, if they didn't pay the tax, they have to give the money back. Yeah, they have to reimburse the money, because it's the money that you didn't use to pay a tax. So yeah.
Okay.
With some other clients, we are telling them it's up to them. I said, if you want to use the appraisal value, we can use the appraisal value. If the authorities require us to pay that, then we will let you know. Some clients, I said, okay, for us, it's very important that as long as the client knows, and it's a kind of transparency situation, so they know. We have to let them know. So it's like, what do you want to do? And
Okay, so at this point, what I can do is to go to and talk to the notario, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before the closing to see what they think or what they would
just tell them whatever you have your closing and said which value are we using, appraisal value, then say, can you update my closing cost please using the appraisal value in Jalisco.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
so at this point we are a little bit pending here.
I mean, hopefully. We as closing coordinators, it's kind of hard for us because in Mexico we're kind of used to this type of situation. It's like, oh yeah, they forgot to change that. Oh yeah, but for foreigners, it's like, what? Like it's
trust me.
unreal. It's unreal because it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean that I'm like, well, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
And I mean, people buy because they have their limited money and they count on a certain percentage of closing costs, and all of a sudden it doubles.
Yeah.
How do you explain?
Yeah.
So,
but I think they at some point I warned people this last year. I said they were trying to change it because and I said, and at some point they want to do it. They did it. They didn't do it right. But I think they saw that. I mean, they already saw it, and they probably will rather change the law to buy it back to the appraisal, or just change the treasury law. And once they change the treasury law, it's a done deal. Then we have to start using the purchase price as a base for that transfer. And the closing costs, I would safe to say to you guys should start telling people that will go between 6 and 8%, depending on the price of the property. Like cheaper properties, like around 100,000 and 200,000, probably will pay up to 9% of closing costs.
Can you tell us how does this go? Like, do you have an idea?
A rough idea. What I have is that properties that are, we did a lot of numbers, and properties that are going like a 400,000 and above, their closing costs, if you're gonna use the purchase price from now on or next year, they probably gonna be paying between 4.7 and 5%. Like that's what's gonna be their closing cost.
With the last year.
With this
current one. Okay.
With $400,000. So
okay.
$400,000 and above. Properties that are like and below that, they can go from like 6%, 7%, and sometimes even to 10%. Like 100,000. 200,000, I have checked some properties that I see the closing costs, I'm like, oh crap, this is like 10% of the price. Like, yeah,
this is crazy.
Because why? Because although the value, the transfer tax will probably be less in those cheaper properties, you still will be paying the same amounts for the trust. You will be paying the same amounts for the trust fee, the same amount for the trust, the constitution of the trust, and all those amounts will kind of be, So it will affect more cheaper properties. Probably you will see that you have to tell your client what's spec. If that purchase price, we're gonna start using the purchase price. You're probably gonna have start to tell your client that we probably have to think of closing costs between 7 and 10%.
Okay. Thank you. And when do you think we can have an answer on that? I know it's a hard one.
They said it Monday, but another thing that I always say in Mexico, they said Monday. They didn't say which Monday.
Something to do with
I asked yesterday, I said, well, when are the... And they said, well, Monday we'll have an answer from the authorities. And I said, so that probably on Monday told me like, okay, they didn't tell me which Monday, and they said probably. So it might be another week, it might be, who knows.
But they have to do something.
They have to, they definitely have to do something. And as what I'm doing now with the notaries that we work with, we're asking them, and then once they tell us, use the appraisal value, then we're gonna start telling you to tell your clients they're going to be charged with the appraisal value, and of course that's going to reduce drastically their closing cost.
Okay, Orlando, thank you so much. I mean, this was such a huge doubt in the past weeks that we didn't really know what to say and what to communicate with you guys. And this was a huge help. Thank you very much. I hope it helped as well. And please feel free to reach out to me or to Orlando if you have any questions. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.